You are listening to the We Are West Ham podcast with me, Will Pugh, Tom Edwards and James Jones. And since we last spoke, West Ham United's accounts have been released. Revenue is down, but don't worry, the interest charged by David Gold and David Sullivan has remained the same. In fact, there seems to have been a slight increase. Elsewhere, fans are up in arms at David Moyes for not going for it, at Manchester United. And Tom Edwards has been tweeting garbage once again. Lads, it's wonderful to see you. I've already said I'm a little bit ratty already tonight. I've got a feeling, judging by our conversations during and since the Manchester United game, there's going to be a couple of classic We Are West Ham head-to-heads between. And you know what? Normally I feel a little bit more edgy towards Jonesy because he said something, or sometimes it's Tom. But now I'm looking at both of you on the screen and I'm thinking, I'm not in the mood for either of these blokes tonight. But James, we'll start with you as ever. How's things?
Yeah, good, thanks, mate. It's nice to see that, even though we're getting ever closer to all getting our freedom back after COVID, you're still grumpy as ever. There's always something to moan about you, isn't there, mate?
It's just you two.
Yeah, I know. It must be. But yeah, other than that, all good, mate. Yeah, pretty good. Yeah, a little bit frustrated by the weekend's action, but I'm sure we'll get onto that. But yeah, other than that, all good.
Pleased to hear it, mate. Yeah, pleased to hear it. Thomas, I think there's a little special bit of my energy reserved for you this evening, so don't worry about that. But how's things? How's life treating you?
Yeah, all good, mate. I've just about calmed down. Temper's got back to a level.
Sobered up, you mean?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that'll be it. Yeah. Maybe water for beer this time, this day. But all good, mate. Yeah, it was a little bit frustrated on the weekend. The dust has settled, and as tends to happen, a little bit overboard on some comments. But I still stick by a few of the ones I'm sure we'll get onto. But yeah, a little bit frustrated, but just mellowing it out just in time for the weekend.
A little bit frustrated. That may be the understatement of the week so far. Granted, we are only at Tuesday night, but brilliant stuff. Well, lads, it is good to see you, really. Aside underneath all my innate grumpiness, I am pleased to be back here on the We Are West Ham podcast. Once again, we had a brilliant packed show last week. Emotional stuff, obviously, with the departure of Mark Noble, and then he starts at Manchester United, and any sense of sentiment or emotion seemed to drain away from most West Ham fans quite quickly. The fact that him actually starting a Premier League game, or especially one at Old Trafford, riled up quite a lot of people, and his performance didn't do a lot. But James, I don't know which one of you wants to go first or where to start, really. We've said we'll go Man United reaction first, so I'll leave it open. I'll do a nice open question for you at first. Manchester United game, what were your thoughts before, during and after the game? What would you like to talk about first?
Go on, Tom, you go.
Yeah, switching over here. No, I'd like to talk about the way he's set up, and obviously we'll probably get to comments I tweeted. But I think that West Ham fans we're allowed to be a bit frustrated. I think that's 4 points we've taken from the top six, or the so-called big six, and we're a better side than that this year. And I think a few times it has been ultimately down to the way we've come out and tried to play in the games. We haven't playing Noble against Chelsea and playing Noble against United. Then we had even more reason at the weekend to go for it. Everyone around us dropped points. We had Lingard, and then some attack players in there, and we absolutely didn't regress and just set up negative when we had a lot of potential, and we got a lot of potential that side go up and pick those points up where they're around us now in the league, and we got to look at potential opportunities. And I don't think we can. I think we brought a lot of that upon ourselves, and we didn't game, and we didn't look our usual selves because the way I think we set up. And it's no on David Moyes. He's been super season. And I think people are allowed the little criticism that they may have after weekend's result. So that was my piece on the negativity. It's nothing against David Moyes, and it's something he has showed he's got the capacity to go against, like he did against Spurs, and we won that performance against City. We could have done more in that game, and that was my main point.
Right. Well, sorry, James, you might have to take a back seat for a couple of minutes then. We'll dive straight into it. But Tom, I just think it's just so easy to say that in hindsight. And I just think that argument just shows a bit of a naivety about like the way these teams play football. Tottenham were a different.
I disagree. No. It's not a
Yeah, but no,
naivety.
but hang
There's
on,
no
no,
naivety
because
in football here.
I'm saying it does, because that's exactly what Man United want you to do, isn't it? That's literally how they've set up their team.
No, it's not.
all
No, it's not.
season long.
United love to counter-attack. United love to counter-attack and bring us
There
on.
you
But
go.
also, yeah, they love to do that. But at the same time, City love open spaces, and we went there and we gave them problems. And
Open spaces is different to counter-attacking, isn't it? City are a possession-based team.
Well, we're never
going to
have possession against. We're never going to have your possession against United. The only way we would have hurt them is by counter-attacking ourselves and throwing a few bodies forward, maybe get Souček closer to the play rather than last 10. We've never gone for it. We haven't gone for it all season in that manner. I'm not saying to stick 7 men up front and try to stick attacker. I'm trying to say play the way we have all season.
That's a juxtaposition, though, isn't it? Because you've just said that we're never going to have possession against United. We're only going to score if we're counter-attacking as well. And to counter-attack effectively, you have to, I'm assuming, sit back and absorb some of the play, i.e., like Man United do, let the other team have the ball and then hit them on the counter. You can't do it both ways, can you? I just think it's so easy against a team like United. You could do it, go for it, like everyone's been saying, and then after half an hour and you're 3-0 down, everyone, it's an absolute disgrace afterwards. Let's have it straight. We lost by an own goal, a complete fluke, really. The ball gets whipped into an absolute bunch of players. Dawson, I don't really know what he's doing, but he's ducked his head down. It's hit him and it's gone in. Really, even though it was pretty grim and not very enjoyable, I kind of thought that was how the game was going to look beforehand anyway. But if we had have come back from Old Trafford with a 0-0 draw, and I'm assuming both of you as well, would have been absolutely delighted getting a draw away at the team who are second place, the best of the rest.
Yeah, of course, any draw is a good draw. I think the manner, like I said, I wasn't saying to get plenty of men going forward and kamikaze going for it. That's not the way we played all season. I'm just trying to hark back to maybe the results we have had against the bigger sides, where we've played that extra creative play and we've taken that risk that we haven't against all the other times. Against Liverpool, when they had injuries, we sacrificed attacking players, and we did this similar midfield, and we set up even deeper than usual. And don't get me wrong, I totally understand the tactic, but we need that link player and we need to counter-attack with pace, and we didn't leave much pace out there. I know we had Antonio. Bowen's been really out of form, and when he stuck those two up front again, and it's not the first time it's failed. Against Brighton with the same thing, it was Bowen and Haller that time and Noble in the midfield. It's not worked, and we tried something which hasn't worked all season, and we've gone against what has worked all season. And we haven't been a free-flowing attacking team, but we have been a team who does take risks and throw men forward from crosses and cross from deep. And that's what I'm trying to say. Maybe the word "go for it" is wrong, but at least show a little bit more intent in the middle third and maybe have a guy who's going to link the play better. And that would have been a big difference.
Yeah, James, I'll let you come in here. I will agree with you on that, Tom. I think we'll agree that I think Noble on the pitch at all doesn't bring anything there. And I am also, again, we'll get onto the Jacob stuff in a minute, because I particularly liked one of the comments he made, which was met with absolute fury by fans about Said Benrahma, and that people think that people think of him as better than he's shown at the moment. Not to say that he's a bad player, but I do think, like, if you compare mine and your opinion on Benrahma, Tom, it's fair to say that you think a lot more of him than I do so far. Yeah. But I would have definitely played him instead of Noble, because of the fact Noble doesn't bring anything. I think we're extremely hampered by not having Lingard or Fornals. You were right in what you say about Bowen. But James, what have you got to weigh in on all of this? Because I'm not exactly sure where you sit at the moment. I've been too wrapped up in my fury at Tom's comments since the game.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's.
If you sit on the fence, I'm removing you from this Zoom call.
No. I'm not sitting on the fence. I think it's unfair, some of the criticism some fans have had for questioning the approach to the game. I think, given the season that we've had, I think fans have every right to go, hang on, what was you thinking behind that, Dave? Like, come on. Especially given the exact same approach to a game has failed at more than one occasion this season against the same opposition and very similar opposition in terms of a top six club. I think fans were looking for something a little bit different in terms of approach, given that approach has failed before. And all this stuff about, well, he doesn't trust Benrahma to do the lead work in midfield in a system like that. Well, he had Lanzini there, potentially as an option, someone that can link up the play on the counter attack, someone that could, create something on the counter. Instead, he's gone for Noble, which leaves, I think Bowen had a half decent game. He got on the ball a little bit and, looked like he wanted to drive forward and run with it every time. But he's isolated. And when he's isolated, Antonio's isolated, and you needed someone a little bit more creative. And I get the fact that losing Fornals to injury was a big blow because he's we've said it in recent weeks, he's the workhorse in that midfield. He'll run and run and run and run and run. So that would have messed up with his plans. But I think it's unfair to. I'm just flicking through Twitter after the game, and so many fans who were questioning it. We're getting piled on by other West Ham fans, going, "No, you're wrong. Like you're wrong. Like we've only lost 1-0 at Man United." I think that's a little bit harsh because, we've had a good season, and the feeling was United are beatable at Old Trafford. If there's ever a season that you can go to Old Trafford and get a result, it was this season. They've been poor at home. And so I think fans were just a little bit underwhelmed given the season we've had, and then we've gone to United and sat back for 55, 60 minutes, and then only really sprung into action when we've gone 1-0 down to an own goal. And it was a bit like, really? We're better than that this season. So I get the criticism. I also slightly get David Moyes' thinking, but the personnel was wrong on the night. That was it. I think.
Yeah, Noble particularly.
Yeah, like the approach really wasn't my issue. It was the personnel, and I tweeted after the game. I didn't tweet any big journalists or top West Ham fans, but I tweeted after the game and said, it's games like that we'll look back on at the end of the season and think, what if we could come to regret games like that. Both games against United where we've messed up. Liverpool at home, Fulham away. No one mentions Fulham away, and that was when we had Lingard and Fornals on the pitch, and we were awful. Drew 0-0. No one was slagging us off then.
I think I was.
Palace at home. Drew 1-1 with Palace at home. I mean, but then we go to Man United away, lose 1-0 to an own goal, and everyone's up in arms, and it's like, well, I don't know. It's fixtures like that we're going to look back on and go, we've not done ourselves any favours. This is the season of all seasons where if we want to break into the top 4 or the top 6, this is the season to do it. And there have been a number of occasions this season where we've not done ourselves any favours at all with with either the team selection or the approach to a game. And I think there's probably a mixture of both against United on Sunday.
Yeah, I do think, I definitely think that him not having Lingard and Fornals is huge. And I think if he plays Benrahma instead of Noble from the off, basically nowadays, I think he's always going to get criticised when he starts Noble because there's been no reason to suggest that he should continue to do that, is there, from what we've seen this season? So the Lingard and Fornals thing, I think that's been overlooked quite quickly, as if like that's not had a huge negative effect, because like Tom said, those two are our most in-form attacking midfielders. So we'll just move on before we get too bogged down in that particular bit, lads. So I'll read out, like I say, Jacob Steinberg, West Ham supporter and a prominent sports journalist at The Guardian. So his tweets after the game were, it's pathetic how criticism of Moyes revs up after one defeat at Old Trafford. The reaction to West Ham's performance last night is absurd. It was totally conditioned by the absence of Fornals and Lingard. Agree. Unusually for creative players at West Ham, they work off the ball. Seemed to me that some West Ham fans will never trust Moyes, boring, negative dinosaur, etc., and will always be waiting to pile in. They're more comfortable with a supposedly progressive manager who goes for it. they're still annoyed Moyes isn't playing Zarate. It goes on. It's quite a long thread. Blah blah blah. He mentions lost important players to injury. It's normal to be 48th when you have two central midfielders and only one striker with dodgy hamstrings. Blah blah blah. The idea should go for it. Yeah, we've seen that. But this, and then it gets down to the last one, right? And it said, it's not ideal that Noble played last night. It doesn't work, but Lanzini isn't the same post-injury, which we're all agreed on. But I don't think fans will call him for Lanzini instead. And Moyes doesn't trust Benrahma, who did nothing after coming on with a lot of time left. There's a view of Saeed Benrahma that doesn't tally with reality. And of all of the tweets that he put out, that one got the most reaction. Tom particularly, who said, and I and I quote, "I think there's rugby on the other side. That might be more suitable for you, fella." So pretty grown up and mature response from Tom there. But there was a lot of people piling on. So this side Benrahma thing, let's tackle that one head on. Tom, we'll throw to you first. You do like him a lot, and I can honestly, and I've liked some of the bits that he's done, but there are elements, and I'm honestly about 50-50 with him. They're neither one side or the other, which in today's society, and particularly with West Ham stuff, you seem to have to always pick a side and be staunchly, right or left, or Benrahma or Moyes in, Moyes. You know the score. You know what point I'm trying to make. But with Benrahma, I find lots of things he's done this year have been really, really promising. But I also totally understand the idea that he's definitely not the finished article, that he still hasn't scored for the club. He has laid on a couple of assists, but that he could do more. And I hope, to be honest, that he does do more. So I don't find it quite as mind-numbingly infuriating as lots of people do. And I'd suggest you perhaps more so than me, Tom, when he doesn't play or that he's not getting quite as much game time as he is. However, I will caveat that with the other night, I do think you've got to start him then instead of Mark Noble.
Yeah, and I'm sorry. Yeah, I agree, mate. I'm not saying. I mean, half the reason I love him is because I spent 75 quid on a Benrahma black kit. But anyway, no, I liked him before he came to us. I thought he's one of those players who's going to get fans off their seat. He has that ability to go past players on both sides. He does have a skill. He was for Brentford at least. He was good in front of goal. He took chances and he created it. And he's an unselfish player. He's good in the ball, and I think we have seen glimpses of it. And I think just his presence more than anything so far at West Ham has just given us an extra option. It has given space to Lingard, and it's meant that we do keep the ball better in the final third, and we link the play. Him and Lingard have some really nice passage of play. The penalty that we won against Leeds, the play they had before that was superb, and it's not the first time that they've linked in the limited amount of time they played together. So I think he offers another dimension. I think he will get better, will get more used to the Premier League, and he's got a really, really high ceiling that I just think we're not exploring. And I've got some stats here from in the 12 games he started this season, we've won 9 games and we've drawn 2 and we've lost 1. In the 11 games he's been on the bench, we've won 4, drawn 1 and lost 6. So our win percentage with him is 75%. Our win percentage without him is 36%. And they're pretty damning stats, especially if you look at the United game. Noble hasn't been on the pitch this season from the start when we've scored a goal in the Premier League. So it's just a bizarre one. And he has clearly made an influence. He has laid on a few goals, and he has, even against United, that shaft turn and when he was in and he had that cut back and beat the player. Things like that. And I just think we need to use him more, but I do accept he's not the finished article, and there'll be times when Fornals and Bowen are better options than him.
Yeah, Tom. All right, Lord. I'll tell you what. We'll lock that one in. We'll cement that one, because on an evening it looked like we'd be disagreeing on a lot. I think it's not just us, is it? But Benrahma should definitely have started over Mark Noble at the weekend. And I do just. What do you find? What do you make of it all, James? What do you think the reasons are then? Because we've gone to Man City and lost 1-0. All right, lost 2-1, lost by 1 goal. All right, we've scored, and we did give them more of a game, I would suggest, but give them more of a game in perhaps the way that fans want us to, i.e. we perhaps had a little bit more of the ball and looked a little bit more like putting one in the net ourselves, and obviously we did. Do you find it a little bit peculiar that there's a difference in fan reaction when we've gone to both of the top 2 teams in the Premier League away and lost by 1 goal on both occasions?
I think so, because the contrast in performances and approach are going to be completely different. And there's a common denominator in both of them, is that it's Lingard. Lingard was very, very good against City. Was absent against Man United, obviously, because he can't play against his parent club. And ever since he's arrived at the club, every single performance, barring Fulham away, with him in the team has been superb. The fans have been loving it. and he gives us that little bit extra going forward. He gives us that little bit extra in possession, and we lacked that.
But no one could be blamed for that, can they? Like, that's what I'm saying.
No.
But about fan reaction.
But the fan reaction is that we've not had enough of the ball. We've not. I think it took us until after we gone 1-0 down to have a shot on goal. And given the season that we've had, and I said it before, given the season we've had up to that point, we've not been used to performances like that. We've been used to having more chances on goal than the opposition, even when we've lost. So I think probably a lot of it was born out of the fact that fans were just a little bit confused. Just hang on,
we're better than this.
This is the 29th game of the season, and the 28 games before, we've been relatively good, barring one or two performances. And now we've just rocked up to Old Trafford, a ground where United have been very vulnerable this season. And a couple of absences in terms of Fornals and Lingard. We've reverted back to almost West Ham of old. And it's a little bit like, hang on, we had a big opportunity here. So I get why there was a difference in reaction from the fans. But I'll have to say, I do disagree with Jacob's point on fans' opinion of David Moyes. Fans don't want him to fail. No fan wants the manager of their club to fail. And if anything, the fans are just delighted that he's succeeded, not because we're doing well and we've got a chance to finish in the top 6, but because of the journey that David Moyes has had, the very unique journey he's had since he left Everton, but also his relationship with the club. Arrived, kept us up, wasn't good enough, left, came back, kept us up again. I don't think there's a manager, barring Slaven Bilic, there's not a manager I've wanted to succeed more at West Ham. I think he deserves it, and I'm delighted for him so far. But that doesn't mean he's immune from a little bit of criticism when things go a little bit wrong.
No, you're right.
Pep Guardiola gets criticised still. Mourinho gets criticised. He's been criticised his entire career. And he's one of the most successful managers ever. So David Moyes, he's had a great season. Doesn't mean to say we can't have a go at him.
You're allowed to have a go at him for starting Mark Noble, aren't you? Let's be honest. And that will, but you're right, and that will and should continue to happen. One thing, just before we move on, because we've got David Bitt coming up, lots to cover tonight. I just look back, right, to earlier in the season, that Manchester United game at home, fortunate enough to get in to the game and watch that in the stadium. Brilliant experience. And I find, right, with that, if you take that game alone, the first half, we really went at them, and we should have had more than we did at half time. They looked completely shell shocked, blah, blah, blah. And then the second half, they did exactly what I think David Moyes was trying to be wary of in the whole game, basically at Old Trafford, was just hit us on the break, albeit the goalkeeper kicked it out of play in the build up to one of their goals, which was outrageous cheating. But the other that we did get stung really quickly by some devastating counter-attacking play by Man United. So it is one of the, I think with a game like that, whatever happened in i.e. we got a defeat, in whatever manner the defeat came about, you'd have, I think the anger would be equally vociferous. If we'd got done 3-0, people would have been going, what the hell are you doing? Man United are an attacking team, just going at it like that and losing 3-0. And what happened earlier on in the season at London Stadium? We left ourselves open at the back when we had something to protect and blah, blah, blah. Do you know what I mean? I just feel like he's a bit damned if he does and damned if he doesn't at the moment.
I get that. I mean, I don't agree with the whole, we should have gone for it line, but I don't think any club can go to Man United and go for it, because they will get they will get hurt. Like, it does happen. Yeah. United are probably one of the best counter-attacking teams in the Premier League. So yeah, I get it. We couldn't go for it, but as I said before, the choice of that starting 11 basically hindered us from doing anything at all, and that's why we saw the first 60 minutes that we saw. And if anything, he should have changed it at half time. He should have made those changes at half time, and he didn't. And so that's why he's getting criticised. But he's not getting criticised anymore. That game's done now, we look forward to Arsenal this weekend. And the fans, every single fan's behind him. There's not a single fan out there that wants him to fail. So we put it behind us. We move on.
Absolutely, mate. Well, look, we enjoyed having Jacob on when we had him on before. He was very gracious when he came on the podcast. Perhaps we'll put a call in this week and try and get him on, see if he fancies coming on having a chat, because he's always very open to stuff like that. And happy to back up the statements he made, just as Tom Edwards is. Fair play to him. So, James, a quick round of Jekyll and Hyde Edwards tweets. I just want to do a before and after. The before one, core, another weird team selection in a game against the top 6 side. I don't get the way with you, Saeed, this season one bit, but we can't not trust Moyes. He's earned that respect. Big opportunity. Come on, West Ham. Come on, West Ham in capitals. Just that one as a standalone. A little while later. Nervous tweet. Yeah. Then what do we have? We're so much better when we play with ambition and have our creative players out there. Every time we've set up like that, we've been poor. There's no doubt we've missed opportunities to have a go against the big 6. And also, I'm pretty sure we haven't scored a single goal in any game Noble has started other than Brighton, and he was off for both of them. Poor performance. I really thought we'd have shown a lot more than that. Then it just descended into anarchy, as it often does with Tom on Twitter. But look, lads, I think we've done that one to death. James has summed it up perfectly. That game is behind us now. A little bit irritating, but at the beginning of the season, Man United away, you'd have written it off as a defeat anyway. We've only lost by 1. Our goal difference hasn't got hammering. A little bit annoying, but onwards and upwards for Arsenal. But